Hello everybody, Jeremy here again with today's video. Today what I'm going to talk about is a little bit, pretty much the timeline of my case, what all happened here with me, why I'm in lawsuits that I filed against the county and the court and other entities as well. But I think today's a good day to sit here and kind of go over the whole story so you guys can get the gist of what actually happened and how bad things have gotten in our courts. So I'm going to get started with this. You guys just follow along, stick with me for a little bit. It'd be great to have you guys, and it's very important to listen to this because if it can happen to me, which I'm a good father, I'm a good citizen, and I'm a combat wounded disabled veteran, it can happen to anybody. So, we have to police our own. We have to be accountable for our actions. We have to take action as well. And now's the time to do that. That's why I'm here doing these videos. So we're going to get started. This is basically a timeline of events of how things broke down for what happened. So around April 2024, probably within the first week of April, I had filed to get my two sons more than I had. I had 50-50 custody. I wanted to get more custody with them because they're now 15, almost 16 and 17. And it's a very impressionable age for young boys to turn into men and get a lot of advice and world wisdom from their own father. So I think, to break it down, why I wanted them was just that, just to be their dad, be there more for them, teach them all I can before they leave the nest, per se. So when I did that, I asked the kids for months ahead of time before I actually filed for more custody because I wanted them to be okay with it. So I never pushed it on them. I did ask them here and there, what do you guys think of this? Would you like to have more time with me? Less time, the same, whatever it may be. So throughout the months, they were fine with it. They're excited to say, yes, we'd love to stay with you more. And I made it clear to them, hey, you guys can still see your mother anytime you want. I'm not going to ever hold you back from your mother. It actually had nothing to do with her. It literally had everything to do with me trying to be a good dad. And, I don't want them to do things that I've done at their age. I'm not saying I did really awful things, but I made decisions in life that probably, I shouldn't have if I had better guidance. So I was trying to be that guiding light for them. But things turned around. They went sideways real quick. Their mother caught wind of this when she got served that I was going to ask for more time with the kids. And instead of calling me or making contact with me in any way, shape, or form, she came up with this story, went to the courthouse, and told them that I had authorized or gave my oldest son a marijuana vape pen. And apparently she had him take pictures of this vape pen and all that. She never called me to say, hey, Jeremy, did you actually do this? Our son's telling us you gave him or allowed him to have a pot vape. What's going on? Never called, never nothing, because it didn't happen. But where the truth is getting mixed up with the lies is given the fact that nobody, and I mean nobody by their mother, and I mean the police or the court system, never asked me my side of it. Never. So what actually happened was my oldest son's been getting into, pot and, so I guess some other things. I don't want to really get into it. And I noticed that I caught him a few times. I drug tested him and it was positive, and I punished him, correctly for that. And it doesn't mean hitting or anything like that. It just means I'm taking your phone and you're going to stay at home and do your homework, and you're not going to go out to play for a few days because there has to be consequences to these actions. So I did all that. And what happened was I knew he was still getting the pot and smoking it through vape and all that. And I know what's going on a lot around this world, this country, especially with, things getting put into what you think is just pot. And it's actually, they're lacing it with really bad drugs, fentanyl and methamphetamine and all that stuff. So trying to be a tactical dad that made a tactical decision, what I did was I got a CBD vape pen, which is not going to get you high. It's not going to do anything, basically. And I didn't tell him that it was not pot. So I said, if you're going to go anywhere or get it from anybody, I'd rather it be me, and I want you to be safe. So here you go. And this happened one time. This wasn't an ongoing thing that, you know, that I dealt with or he got to use on a daily basis. It happened one time. And that one time he used it. He must have took a picture of it, I'm guessing, and said it to his mom because it's probably what she had him do. And that was their story to get custody taken off of me. That's the only thing I could think of. Of course, nobody wants to lose their free child support money. So I'm pretty sure that had a really big part in why she did what she did, is because I had 50-50 custody and I still had to pay some money, you know, 500-600 bucks a month because I make more than she does. Even though I'm a disabled veteran, she don't work. So therefore you still have to pay the other parent something, which is insane. Um, so if I would have got the custody more than what I had, then I would no longer had an obligation to pay her child support. And again, this isn't on my mind. It was never nothing to do about money, but that's where it went. So with that said, you know, the next step that happened is she went to the courthouse. She weaponized the court system. Now, I don't know who told her to do this. She looked it up, or she had a lawyer at the time that was a very nasty person. She was also a gal, which is a guardian ad litem, and she's an attorney for my ex. So I'm thinking that they concocted a story that they can go up to the courthouse with that would actually buy it and have my chances of getting my sons more completely eradicated, dragged my name through the mud with these false accusations. So what happened next was she went to the court. Um, I will show all you guys this soon. I'll show you all the documented paperwork and everything once we get down the road a little bit throughout the lawsuit. Um, but she did go up to the court, wrote down a page full of stuff about me giving him marijuana, um, and then she said something about physical abuse, which is insane because I'd never hurt my kids, never hit them. So what happened was the court accepted her complaint, I guess it is, for emergency custody. I'd never had a hearing or was never told about one or afforded a hearing called an evidentiary hearing where I could disprove her claims and prove myself innocent of whatever she's saying. So the Judge Benoni there is the one I had. She's in my lawsuit. That's the judge that just took this and ran with it and never looked back. So for that emergency custody order that my ex now has, I was never properly served. I was served by my ex while I was on my way over to pick my sons up, and it was via text message. Now, in Pennsylvania, one party cannot serve the other, especially via text message, especially a court order like that. So I did bring that up sometime later when I had a hearing next for custody, and I actually filed contempt charges on my ex for doing that. So the judge knew it was there. She signed off on a contempt order that we would have a hearing for that. So without getting too far ahead of it, the lawyer that I had before that I used told me to drop it, that it looks childish and that the court probably won't do nothing anyway. So like a big dummy trusting these lawyers, I said, okay, fine. So that went away. But that incident right there, not being served properly, is enough to nullify this whole situation and give me my kids back. But it didn't. Then the next step was my ex went to CYS, the Children and Youth Services. They come knocking on my door. Well, not technically, but they called me and they investigated me because they had a claim open of bodily harm and allowing my son to smoke a marijuana vape and providing that for him. So actually, the lady from the CYS, I don't want to mention her name right now because she's probably going to be a material witness for me. But she cleared me. She talked to me multiple times, asked me, and I told her the straight truth. I said, I'd never hit my kid. I said, after a urine test that he gave me came back hot for marijuana, I did punish him. I was at the dinner table. I grabbed his sweatshirt and I yelled at him. I said, don't you ever do this again. And it wasn't out of anger. It was out of being scared for my kid because I don't want something to happen to him. So that's all that was. And then with the pot thing, I told her straight up what happened. I said, he has a problem, and I tried to find a solution to it. And I gave him a CBD vape pen one time and never told him it wasn't pot. I was trying to, be sneaky, but trying to help my kid. And she seen exactly what was going on in the situation. She seen from the day that I filed to get my son's more to the day that she went up and filed for emergency custody. She's seen right through that. So luckily for me, I actually had somebody with half a brain, and that's what happened. So now, after that, she went to the Pennsylvania State Police in Greensburg and made a report there. Same thing. I am a danger to my kids. I allowed my oldest son to smoke pot and gave it to him. I mean, I've been put through the ringer with this, and I've lost my kids, and I still, to this day, have not seen them since April 2024. So now I have emergency custody put on me. My kids got taken away, an open CYS investigation, and now police charges, criminal charges were put against me. The state police pretty much wrote down what she said, the same thing. I gave them a pot vape and blah, blah, blah. And they never called me. They never came here to my home. Nothing. All they did was send charges in the mail. That was it. I was never afforded any kind of investigation to prove that, hey, you guys are doing this to me unlawfully. I didn't do nothing. So there's a bunch of violations there. We'll get into that. But the thing was also the CYS lady that investigated my case, she also cleared me and shut the case down. But she had told me she tried to contact the state trooper that put the charges on me and left multiple voicemails wanting him to call her back so she could say, hey, I actually investigated this. Here's what's going on. You guys probably don't need to keep pursuing, Mr. Jackson. So another problem with the state police trooper is he never answered her phone calls, never returned her call. That's illegal. That's denying evidence, which I don't know. It's ridiculous. They can just throw charges on you in the mail and that's it. You have to fight for your life. So I had two charges. One was endangering the welfare of a child. And the other one was corruption of minors, which they're not felonies, but they're really bad misdemeanors. Anything involving kids is bad. And I was shocked at all this. I've never had this happen before. So I had to go through months and months of hearings through the magistrate's office over these charges. And then next it stems to the district attorney, Nicole Ziccarelli of Westmoreland County, in her office, pursuing those charges that were put on me. And the lawyer that I had for the criminal charges, I am suing as well. She's a partner of the one that was telling me to drop the contempt charges from previous. I had two lawyers from the same firm. One was a criminal lawyer, one was a family court lawyer, and both of them screwed me pretty good. The lawyer that I had for the criminal issue never brought up the fact that I didn't have a record of any kind of harm to children or drug history or anything like that. Never bothered to bring up the CYS investigation was closed and what their findings were. So this is why I have the RICO charge on all these people, is because they all could have done so much, but they didn't want to. They wanted to keep me on that wheel of paying and tearing up my life. And that's what they did. And they're still doing it. So needless to say, with the police charges, probably about 6 or 7 months total go by. Multiple hearings were moved and rescheduled. Then I was forced to, if you want out of this and you want us to drop the charges, you have to go to SPHS, which is a behavioral health center across the street from the courthouse, imagine that, to get a drug and alcohol evaluation. I'm not on drugs and I don't even drink alcohol ever. So I was like, fine. And then they also wanted me to do an online parenting class. So I did it. I knocked out a 4-hour online parenting class, went to this drug and alcohol evaluation. I got questioned by a girl that looks like she was maybe 19 years old at best. I answered everything correctly. I gave the truth. Nothing was there saying that I needed any kind of therapy for drugs or alcohol. Actually gave a clean urine sample as well, which I didn't know I was going to have to do that day. It was a supervised urine sample that I had to give, but it was clean, no drugs, no alcohol. And when I was leaving there, the girl that works there said, "Okay, I'll send this on over to the magistrate's office and I'll send you a copy as well." And I said, "Oh, okay, so we're good to go here. I'm good." "Yeah, you're good." Well, a few days later, I get a letter to mail from that company, SPHS, and it says that the girl that interviewed me, is recommending that I have outpatient therapy. And I about lost my shit because I don't do drugs. I don't even drink alcohol. I don't smoke cigarettes. So I called up there and I said, "I want to speak to a supervisor of whoever this girl's supervisor is. I want to speak to her." Told them, I said, "Hey, listen, I don't know why you sent a letter to the magistrate's office telling them that I need outpatient therapy. I do not." And I actually had my VA doctor, which I see bi-monthly, write a letter in support of me stating that I've been a patient for many years. I don't do drugs. I don't drink. I've been a model patient. I go there to get checked up all the time, from being a veteran and getting older. So that letter helped. They sent an amended letter from SPHS to the magistrate, and I sent the doctor letter with that as well. And long story short, they tried to keep me on this Ferris wheel of paying money, going through classes that I didn't need, and therapies and all that, and doing their best to keep me away from my kids longer and keep me in their system longer and paying. And I just finally had enough of it. I was cleared of everything. I had the police charges were dismissed. The CYS investigation was closed, nothing found. Um, then I wanted my kids back. They never gave them back to me. And in the middle of all this, I got child support, the Westmoreland County Domestic Relations, on my heels every day about something. "You're in contempt. You're this. You're that." So I said, "You know what?" I went and filed to terminate my child support order because you guys took my right to be a father away. You took my parental rights away. So if I'm not good enough for my kids, then neither is my money. And I don't want you guys thinking this is because I'm a shit dad and I'm a deadbeat and I don't want to pay for my kids. You don't know me, and that's not the case. Uh, but they kept hounding me. They kept hounding me. I had to come up there for contempt problems, hearings, all this stuff. And I filed for a modification to terminate it since, like I just told you, I didn't have my kids no more. And they took them off me illegally, and they never terminated it. They kept it going. And then instead of actually terminating it, it went from $600 a month to now $1,200 a month. So now you took my kids off me illegally. I've been cleared from everything. And now you just doubled my child support on top of it, knowing I'm a disabled veteran. Do you guys hear this? And I'm not trying, there's no violins playing for me. That's not what I'm asking. That's not what I'm here for. But do you hear how crazy this shit is? This is what these courts are doing to people, men and women like me and you, every single day. And they're getting away with it. They are not there for the best interest of the kids. It's all about how much money they can make. That's what they're doing. They only care about money. They don't care about us. All they care about is destroying families and getting paid from it. And that's how it is. So I took a stand, and that's why I have a federal lawsuit against all these people. And I have a separate state lawsuit against domestic relations. And I can tell you right now, there's going to be a few more coming up. I'm not done with them yet. So with everything that I have said and told you guys today, I have all the proof and evidence to back up every single claim that I put in my lawsuits, both of them. But it's just insane. Since this has happened, like I said, I haven't seen or talked to my kids since April 2024. Haven't heard nothing from my youngest son. My oldest son a few times and messaged me on Facebook and text messages, and it was really nasty. I've never had my kids talk to me like that. And I don't even know if I had a grown man ever talk to me that way. But that's not okay. And the mother allowed this. So now there's proof of parental alienation. Because before this happened, the relationship was great. All the text messages and photos, and people can admit that. And now they hate me, don't want no parts of me. Literally tell me I'm a pile of you know what, and everything else you can call somebody. That's what I've been called by my oldest son. And it's very sad, and it's very angering at the same time, maddening at the same time, because when you have a great relationship with your children and you've been there for them, with them since they were born, and then all of a sudden they're taken away by somebody that is so bitter and so worried about money, it's just disgusting. I can't believe that there's people on this earth that do that stuff. And those people, man, it comes around. That's all I'm going to say. You know, when you do bad things and you do horrible, you know, it comes back to you. It always does. And I'm at the point now where I'm in the middle of these lawsuits, haven't seen my children. Domestic relations still is playing their games. They have already threatened to throw me in jail a few times. And I brought up a lot of valid points with, you know, some issues that I have with their case with me. They never served me. There's no proof of service. They don't have a Title 4D application from the mother to the domestic relations office. They're getting incentives from the federal government. Every time they make me pay, they're getting paid. And it's not even done properly. And on the Pacey's website, it even has on there 3 months after my ex filed for child support in 2016, there's an entry in there. It says complaint withdrawn, dismissed. So 3 months after she opened it, it was actually legally dismissed and done. And they've been after me ever since. And I went to the judge up there, the family court judge, and he didn't want nothing to do with it. There was no way I was going to win there. I brought up every single law that was broken, black and white, plain. I don't even need to argue it. Just hand the paper. Here you go. Here's all the laws. Here's all the violations they did. Here's the proof. He wouldn't even admit it in evidence. And this is a judge. This is a family court judge. This is insane. So that's why I'm going after these people so hard. Judge, cop, lawyer, I don't care who you are. If you had a hand in this, you're getting sued and you're going to pay the consequences for that. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I am going to start being more vocal about it. I tried to keep it quiet. I tried to offer them settlement proposals before we get to discovery and then a trial. They ignored me. So you know what happens now? Now that they ignored me so many times, I'm fine with it going to trial. I want a jury trial. Let a jury of my peers see what they've done to me, a dad, a combat veteran, and just a person that loves his kids. How well do you think that's going to play out for these people? I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on that. That's all I got today. We'll have another video where we dive more into depth with what charges they have put against them, how they violated the laws, which laws they violated, and all that. There's so much. I mean, it's crazy how much stuff I got on these people. So when it gets to the regular state court up here for domestic relations, I'm not going to have a hard time explaining my case and proving my case, because it's pretty black and white. That's how strong it is. And a lot of times lawsuits, you don't get these kind of golden nuggets, I guess you could call it. You don't get something dropped in your lap where it's almost a guaranteed, I don't want to say win, but it's a guaranteed win, because there's so much evidence and proof of what they've done wrong that it can't be swept under the rug anymore. You know, so I'm never going to quit at this. I don't care how much time it takes. You took my family. I'm coming after it. So I'm going to win. I'm going to do my best to win. And when I mean win, I mean hold these people accountable. It has nothing to do with money. Money's always great. Of course, everybody knows that. But when you take a man's children away from him, and then you force him to pay and run him into the ground, you know, not having money left and all that stuff. A lot of people can't handle that. And I really can't handle it. You know, I'm a pretty strong person, and it's very hard to deal with. So anyhow, that's all I got for today. I will have another couple videos coming up. We'll get more into depth on the whole situation, and we'll get into talking about the federal lawsuit a little more and how that will work. And if you guys are having trouble or anything, if anybody needs to reach out to me, please feel free to reach out. As I always say, I am not a lawyer, but I am here, and I can give you some advice on what I've done so far and what's worked and what you guys should be doing. So thank you guys for watching. Take care. Have a good day.